Welcome, everyone, to Couch Potato Diary. Happy Wednesday. My name is Peter Klein. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Coming up on the show, it is Power Rankings Day in the NFL, and then it is finally time to unveil who I think Canada should pick for their Four Nations roster when that becomes final in a little bit. So we got some football and we got some hockey. I'm sure everyone's going to agree entirely with what I say. So let's get into it and start talking about the National Football League. It is Power Rankings time. Haven't done this in a couple of weeks here on Couch Potato Diary, so happy to get back to it with the Power Rankings here. So let's begin. We have a new team at the bottom, the New York Giants, who are just inventing new ways to bottom out. Yes, they went with a different quarterback because Daniel Jones was due a roster bonus. And sure, they tried the quarterback who everyone liked on the team as a safety on the practice squad, and then they cut him. And then they didn't start the second best quarterback on the team, instead the third best quarterback on the team, which basically meant the entire team didn't try for the whole game. Normally there's a but after you do all that, but there isn't one. This is just a terrible football team and a horribly run one. And basically you're starting from scratch, especially on the offensive side. Basically, with the exception of Malik Neighbors. There's a couple good players on this defense, but this team looks like they've kind of quit, and I think they will drive that home Thursday afternoon on American Thanksgiving. At 31, it is the Vegas Raiders. The problem is they haven't quit. They're just not very good, and so that's where they come in, as they don't have a quarterback. They have a bunch of running backs. None of them are any good. At least they have a very good tight end, but they don't block long enough to be able to fully take advantage of it, and the defense can't stop anybody. Also, the coach sucks. And they're very bad at building rosters and developing players. But aside from that, at least they got the tight end. At 30, it's the Carolina Panthers, who are throwing a parade for not being the last place team for the 13th week in a row. But it does seem like things are actually progressing a little bit out in Carolina, and Bryce Young, if nothing else, is going to play so well this season that it will prevent the Carolina Panthers from doing something stupid and drafting a quarterback with the first round pick that they have this year. At 29, it's the New England Patriots. Yes, they've got the quarterback spot figured out. I am not convinced they have the coach figured out, and it's still a work in progress, but they're battling, kind of. At 28, it is the New York Jets, as the sideshow continues out in Gotham. It has been a disaster of a season, and it continues to get worse and worse and worse out in New York, and I do not believe that is going to be a trend that will stop anytime soon. So now, like we like to do every week, let's take a look at the bottom 5 teams that we have here and look at what they might be looking to draft. The New York Giants, I think, will 100% be looking to draft a quarterback if they get first overall. If the Raiders are at second overall, they will 100% be looking to draft a quarterback and maybe bring his coach along if he has a certain last name that is the same as his quarterbaacks. The Carolina Panthers, I don't think they would go that way. I still think, even at 3, Carolina should be looking to move out of that spot and just try to get accumulate a bunch of assets and try to fix this thing that way, because it is more than just a quarterback away or more than just a receiver away out in Carolina. New England definitely wouldn't be in on the quarterback thing. You could see them maybe going wide receiver, running back there as well. I think that the Hunter debate is going to be a very, very interesting one as the draft process really starts to pick up. And the Jets would be a very intriguing team because I think very clearly they don't have the quarterback of the future on this team. And while this year has been an unmitigated disaster, there's still a lot of talent on this football team. And so I don't think that this is if we just draft a wide receiver, then this team's going to take off. I think if you can get that quarterback of the future there at 5, you take that. Now, again, this is just based on my power rankings. Obviously, the teams will land probably in different spots, but that's how I have them right now. All right, outside of that top 5, we have Jacksonville at 27. They had a bye. They inexplicably didn't fire their coach, but yeah, it just hasn't been very good. The Tennessee Titans, they have at least shown signs of life here, and I still think they have a couple of really good pieces on this team and actually have a decent football team. It's just the quarterback probably ain't it, and I don't know if the coach is either. At 25, it's Chicago. The vibes continue to be really bad out with the Bears, but at least they battled and forced overtime, so that's something. At 24, it's the Cleveland Browns, the vibiest team to ever vibe with Jameis Winston at quarterback right now. Good win that kind of moves them up the rankings a little bit. At 23, it is the Dallas Cowboys. Again, picking up a out-of-nowhere surprising victory, and now have a bad New York Giants team coming up tomorrow. Chance to do a couple of things here for the Dallas Cowboys and work their way out of a good draft position, but also maybe convincing their owner, Jerry Jones, that the right answer at coach is Mike McCarthy. So no real upside to any of this winning for the Dallas Cowboys. At 22, it's the New Orleans Saints, who are absolutely one of the teams in the NFL. At 21, it is the Cincinnati Bengals, a remarkably disappointing season and a complete waste of a tremendous year from Joe Burrow, who has been just balling out so far this season. At 20, it is the Indianapolis Colts, who I continue to not be able to get a read on. At 19, we have the San Francisco 49ers continuing to deal with injury problem after injury problem. They, at this point, are just, can we get out of this season and move on to something else? Because it's been a disaster out in San Francisco, but still in the race for a top spot in the division. At 18, it is the Arizona Cardinals. Tough loss this week against Seattle. It feels like every time Arizona comes into a situation where they could potentially actually show that they're a real team, they don't. And that becomes a bit of a problem out there. So I still think that they're good. I just don't think that they're great. At 17, it's the LA Rams, who I think kind of showed this week that run defense might be a bit of a problem. But aside from that, good football team, and one that I still think, again, I have a tough time getting a read on them because one week it looks awful. The next week it looks like no one can stop them, and they are actually going to be a force in this division. But I do also think that things are probably going to catch up to them here a little bit over the next little while, would be my kind of assumption. At 16, it is the Atlanta Falcons, who, again, just 16, perfect for them because they just scream mid across the board. At 15, it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up faith in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The schedule looks great the rest of the way. At 14, it's the Miami Dolphins. I think this week they're going to take a step back against Green Bay coming up on Thursday, but I do think that this is going to be a team that is still in this playoff race right down to the end. At 13, the Denver Broncos beat up on the Vegas Raiders this week and continue to really stick it to me and show me that they are actually probably just a good team in the AFC, sorry. At 12, it's Houston. This is a team that is taking a big fall from where I did power rankings the last time. It's too inconsistent on the offensive side now. It's simply not good enough. And defensively, they're giving up a few plays that they shouldn't be either. So it's a bit of a step back. It is still an incredibly talented football team, and I don't think there's any reason to panic out in Houston. I do think that this is just a bit of a step back year for them. They're still going to make the playoffs, though, and win that division. At 11, it is Washington. This is maybe an overreaction, but that is just a Cowboys team you shouldn't be losing to. And the schedule doesn't get super hard the rest of the way, but there is, I think, a concern that this is maybe not as glamorous as we thought it was going to be. At 10, it's the LA Chargers. They lose on Monday Night Football, but this is still a team that can, I think, cause a lot of problems for teams in the AFC. At 9, it's Minnesota. They keep winning games, but Sam Darnold keeps looking really bad in these games, and the offense just keeps not really impressing me. Defense is legit. I really have questions about the offense. At 8, it's Seattle. I don't know why I am so quick to fully buy into everything they are doing, but I think they're getting healthier on defense, and the offense has enough firepower that even if they're having an off night, they can turn it on and put up some points and again, cause some problems for some teams. At 7, the Green Bay Packers. I want to believe in this team so badly. We have a ticket at the beginning of the year of them to be the NFC champions and the representatives in the Super Bowl, but the offense has looked just perfectly smooth for exactly 0 seconds this year, and the defense starting to look worse and worse. Now, they beat up on San Francisco this week, and that's fine, and it does kind of seem like they are just going to look to kind of, again, steal the basketball turn, dribble the air out of the basketball. But I think that they are going to really I think they're going to run into some problems in the playoffs if they start to fall behind in some of these games. But it does look like they are trying to really slow the pace down and control things when they are on offense. At 6, it's the Baltimore Ravens. I still have major questions about this team defensively, but I think offensively, it's a juggernaut of a football team right now. At 5, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, it's a bad loss against Cleveland, but I can't really drop them down below Baltimore for losing in a snowy game after they beat Baltimore a couple of weeks ago. The defense is one of the best units in all of football right now. At 4, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. Last time we were doing a power rankings, they fell off, or they were at number 1, so they have certainly fallen off in that spot. When you lose even once, it does kind of show some of the warts, and this team, like, defensively is still phenomenal, but offensively, it is not putting up the points the way that the other teams ahead of them are. And so this isn't I think Kansas City, this is the year to get them, because we'll probably talk about that in an episode a little bit later. But it's just not as impressive as it's been for some of the other teams. At 3, we got the Buffalo Bills, a team that beat Kansas City a couple of weeks ago and looks like things are coming together for them. I still have a couple of question marks on the defensive side, but offensively, Josh Allen is looking to put an exclamation mark on an MVP season. At 2, the Philadelphia Eagles. I have major questions about the coach. Seems like a bad hang, but this team talent-wise is stupid good, and it seems like whatever issues they had with the coach, they have put behind them, and they are rocking teams right now. But at number 1, it's the Detroit Lions. They are so clearly the best team right now. And the one thing is they are showing it to everybody. They are going like full New England Patriots from a decade ago and just destroying teams and not letting up at all. This is them giving a giant middle finger to the rest of the NFL. It's like, if you don't like us, stop us, because we are going to play Detroit Lions football for 60 by God minutes. And that has them number 1 on our NFL power rankings. So that's the story from the NFL. Let's move to the ice, where big decisions are going to be made next week. So may as well give my predictions on it a little bit earlier. Here is the Hockey Canada roster that I would pick for the upcoming Four Nations Cup. Finally, we are getting a best-on-best tournament coming up very soon, and so that leads to a lot of discussion when it comes to the world of hockey. And so today I am dipping my toe in those waters and giving my roster for what I would do for Team Canada at the upcoming Four Nations, whatever it's called. Let's start with the forward group. On my first wing, I have Alexis Lafreniere, Connor McDavid, and Mitch Marner. Marner, this recent run with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I'm recording this on Tuesday night, so I don't think by the time you hear this, anything may have changed with him with the Leafs, but he has been on just an incredible tear with Austin Matthews out of the lineup, and I think really has shown that he is one of the more talented players in the league. Connor McDavid kind of goes without saying, and Alexis Lafreniere is getting to that level of a superstar that we all thought he was going to be when he was drafted. My second line, Marchand, Crosby, and McKinnon. Marchand and Crosby have the chemistry of many a best-on-best tournament gone by, and Nathan McKinnon is just freaking awesome, and Crosby and McKinnon have to be on a line together. Those are the rules. The third line, I've noticed not a whole lot of left shots out there at the forward group for the Canadians. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but in terms of guys who could fit in these bottom roles, there wasn't a whole lot. So we went with Sam Reinhart on the left side, along with Scheifele and Bedard. Bedard, you can maybe make a case that there are some more deserving players now, but I think that this gives him this experience and gets him kind of ready for what it is going to be for the Olympics. And also, it's just like he has that high-end game-breaking ability that some of the other guys can't necessarily bring. Scheifele, I think, has earned it, given his play with the Winnipeg Jets. And Reinhart, you score 1 billion goals last year, you should make it on the team. Now, I will say that didn't work for Hyman, but he is off to an extremely slow start this season. And my fourth line, this would just be a mother to play against. I have Sam Bennett, Braden Point, and Mark Stone. I think defensively, this team would give you a whole lot of problems. Like I said, they would be miserable to play against. They have size, they have speed, they all can score. And so I think this is the type of line that Canada falls in love with at this quick tournament at the Four Nations, and then maybe off to the Olympics next year. My extra forwards then are Suzuki and Steven Stamkos. So my forward group again: Lafreniere, McDavid, Marner, Marchand, Crosby, McKinnon, Reinhart, Scheifele, Bedard, Bennett, Point, Stone, and Suzuki and Stamkos as the extras. On the blue line, we have a couple of pairs that are sticking together. I have Makar and Devon Toews as one pair. They are the best defensive pairing in the National Hockey League. Don't mess with it. Then we have a couple Golden Knights as Pietrangelo and Shea Theodore make it onto this squad. I just think their talent wins it out more than any kind of teammate familiarity. And then my third pairing, it is Morrissey and Ekblad. I think Ekblad, given that run to the Stanley Cup, probably deserves to be on here. And Morrissey, I just think is just so incredibly talented that I think you have to go with him. This next pick, I kind of bounced around a few different names. I think you can see the hat. So obviously Mackenzie Weegar was a name that certainly came to mind very, very quickly. But I'm going a little bit more with something I talked about before with the forward group, and maybe didn't go into it as much. But I do think that part of this should also be a bit of a learning experience. This is certainly a tournament you want to take seriously. We're not going to send the World Junior team over there to just get their brains beat in by a bunch of adults. But I do also think that part of this is we haven't had a best on best in a really long time. And we have a really big one coming up with the Olympics in 2026. So let's get a few guys ready and kind of acclimated to the experience. Think Christian Leitner on the 92 Dream Team and what Caitlin Clark maybe should have been on the women's basketball Olympic team this last year. But I'm going with Owen Powers. I think that, again, there are maybe a few more veteran defensemen who could be worthy of this spot, but I think Powers is very, very good. And I think that kind of defenseman of the future sort of a thing gives him a spot here, give him this experience. So with him, with Bedard, and even a little bit with Nick Suzuki, give these young kids the opportunity to see what this tournament is like, be around some of these pros, and see the level that is expected of you going forward. So again, my defense is Makar, Toews, Pietrangelo, and Theodore, Morrissey, Ekblad, and then on the as the extra, I have Owen Powers. In goal, I have gone the exact opposite of the bring the kids and help them along strategy. Binnington is our number one, almost by default. This is, everyone has talked about this. This is the very clear and obvious weakness of the Canadian team. I have Adin Hill as the number two, and I went Marc-Andre Fleury at number three. Will they go this way? Probably not. But play-wise, he's actually not far off from being the third best Canadian goalie in the NHL right now. I think the experience that he brings in these types of events is obviously very important as well. And I think, again, meshing as someone who can be good in the room, I think having that in a very quick tournament like this is going to be very, very important to help these guys along. So I actually think there is a bit of a strategic side of this there, instead of just the, oh, shucks, look at the old guy part of it that I think a lot of people are going with. So my goalies again, Binnington, Hill, and Marc-Andre Fleury. Those are my picks for who I think will be on Hockey Canada's roster. I'm sure you all agree with that 100%. So let me know in the comments how much you agree with my selections there. That's going to do it for today's Couch Potato Diary. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Follow me on social media. I am at Primetime Klein. NFL picks, wrestling stuff, all of that coming up in the next couple of days right here on Couch Potato Diary. So don't you dare miss it. Have a great day, everybody.